From the station that's on your side, you're watching Friends at 5.
Well, good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lauren Thomas in for Darcy Strickland.
And I'm Andrea Mock. We begin in KC, where it was a very scary night there. Two KC police officers are recovering tonight after being injured in an early morning shooting. It happened at about 1:30 in the morning. They were making a drug-related arrest on Lorick Street. Department officials say the suspect shot at the officers, hitting one of them, injuring the other officer in an altercation. They say the officers returned fire, killing that suspect. He was 21-year-old Demetrius Bryant. The coroner said he died from 2 gunshot wounds to the upper body. The 2 officers were taken to the hospital and are both expected to recover.
For us, it's answered prayers. It really is. These guys go out here and put themselves in harm's way. They leave their families in the evenings not knowing if they're going to return. And for us, they will today.
The identities of the officers have not been released yet. SLED is investigating, as is always the case during an officer-involved shooting.
Meanwhile, neighbors say it's been a long time since something of this magnitude has happened. Neighbors in the complex where the shooting took place say there's a lot of traffic in and out of one of those apartments, but they say they've never seen anything illegal. Chris says she lived in this apartment for 7 years, and through the years, crime has come and gone, but she was surprised to be woken up by gunshots this morning.
And then I heard one policeman say, well, we need an ambulance because a police officer's down, then another one's been shot too. And then he said the suspect, the other policeman got here. He said the suspect's on the ground in the back. I was really shocked, girl.
Well, KC Public Safety tells us their officers don't have body cameras, but the cars do have dash cam video. And SLED, who is investigating, tells us they'll be looking at the dash cam video to see if it's picking up the shooting. And coming up tonight at 6, we'll hear more from neighbors who also woke up to those gunshots.
Well, in Clarendon County now, troopers say a person was hit and killed walking down the road. It happened at about 6 o'clock this morning on Highway 521. Troopers say the car and the person were going in the opposite directions when they collided. The victim hasn't been identified yet, and troopers say the person was wearing dark-colored clothing. No word, though, on if any charges will be filed.
Well, in Richland County, the coroner has released the name of that person who died yesterday after being shot. It happened around 1:30 in the morning in the 1100 block of Queen Street in Columbia. The coroner says 40-year-old Richard Gilmore died at the scene from a gunshot wound to the upper body. The coroner says this is a homicide, and officers say they have talked to several people in the neighborhood about the incident, but have not identified a suspect. Anyone with information on the shooting is asked to contact Crime Stoppers at 1-888-CRIME-SC. In Lexington County, deputies have charged a man with larceny and financial fraud. Deputies say Frank Owens Turner Jr. took cash, several credit cards, and a debit card from a vehicle on Pitney Road. Security cameras captured this picture that deputies say shows Turner using the debit card to make a purchase at the Walmart in Harbison Boulevard. Turner is being held in the Lexington County Jail, awaiting a bond hearing.
Bars in Orangeburg now are going to stop serving alcohol at 2 in the morning. County Council approved the ordinance by a 6-1 vote last night. Some bar owners, though, and workers and patrons aren't happy about this news. At a public hearing before the vote, some in the audience complained that council members had already made up their minds and were not listening to them. Sheriff Leroy Ravenel says the new ordinance should help reduce shootings and other violence at those night spots. Night spots may not serve alcohol now between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m.
Now, the Midland's most accurate forecast with Chief Meteorologist Jim Gandy.
Today, we've seen some high-level clouds that have been moving across the area. You can see they're moving from west to east, and we've got a lot more back to our west, so we're going to continue to see an increase in some cloudiness overnight. We've had just a few showers offshore, nothing that's really moved inland, and temperatures have been mild, not bad, but mainly in the 60s right now. It's 68 degrees over in Augusta, 63 up in Charlotte, a little cooler in Asheville there at 55 degrees, but further to the south where there is some sunshine, It's 77 degrees in Albany, Georgia. Right now, we're under mostly cloudy skies. Our temperature 69 degrees. Winds are from the east-northeast at 7 miles per hour. Tonight, we'll continue to see an increase in clouds overnight with a low of 54. Tomorrow, it's going to be mostly cloudy. Only a slight chance of a shower during the day with a high temperature of 75. But tomorrow night, the clouds will be in place, and we do expect to see some thunderstorms, but not until late, probably after midnight with a low of 67. Now let's take our first look at the traffic this afternoon across the area. We'll start on the northwest side of town. This is the Lexington Highway. It's actually moving in pretty good shape right now through West Columbia all the way to Lexington, but we're starting to see that slow down through the Malfunction Junction area. Still, it's not too bad. On the southeast side of town, one accident. This is on Leesburg Road right here, not too far from Pineview, and it's slowing things down. On the Sumter Highway, it's not too bad, and it gets back to normal once you get past Lower Richland Boulevard. On the northeast side of town, the interstates are moving in good shape. If you're going from downtown to Blythewood, should take you about 23 minutes. From downtown to the Village at Sandhill will take you about 30 minutes. More on our forecast is coming up.
Well, check your freezers because Tyson Foods is recalling chicken wings sold at stores nationwide. The company is recalling over 52,000 pounds of Tyson Anytizers fully cooked hot wings, buffalo style. Customers who contacted the company say the wings had an off odor, and each 28-ounce bag affected in this recall bears the establishment code P13456 above those heating instructions on the back of the bag. Each bag has a best if used by date of October 24th, 2016 or October 25th, 2016. And for more information, head to our website and look for this story.
Actor Charlie Sheen admits he's HIV positive. He sat down on a morning show earlier today to confirm that rumor. Sheen lost a starring role, of course, in the CBS hit 2.5 Men back in 2011 following what became a notorious public meltdown that was near the time of his diagnosis. He says he started experiencing cluster headaches and migraines, and that a battery of tests came back and revealed he had HIV. The 50-year-old says he isn't quite sure how he contracted the virus, but he is taking antiviral medicine daily to keep himself healthy.
And new numbers released today show the number of Americans who smoke continue to decline. The numbers of adults in the U.S. who smoke has declined about 10% over the past 18 years. The study found that just under 15% of Americans currently smoke. That's the lowest percentage since this survey began in 1997, when nearly a quarter of U.S. adults were smokers. CDC researchers said the reduction is due to smoking bans, increasing costs of cigarettes, awareness campaigns, and improved access to tools that can help smokers kick the habit.
An American cancer study says fewer men are being diagnosed with early prostate cancer and less are getting blood tests to detect the disease. This comes after a government-appointed panel recommended against routine screenings more than 3 years ago. Doctor groups used to recommend routine yearly PSA screening starting at age 50. Elevated levels of sometimes indicate prostate cancer, but they also can be caused by other things. PSA screenings can lead to overdiagnosis and overtreatment of tumors that will actually never pose a threat. The panel's advice against screening has been debated, but it's being followed.
And new research finds people who drink moderate amounts of coffee lower their risk of death from cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and neurological diseases. Moderate drinking is defined as less than 5 cups a day, which is, wow. The American Heart Association study found it didn't matter if the coffee was caffeinated or decaf, suggesting the health benefit is not just about the caffeine, but also something else in the coffee beans themselves.
Well, that means I'm like the healthiest person in the world. And Jim Gandy, too. Thumbs up, Jim. We're doing good. Oxford dictionaries have released their word of the year. And it's really not a word at all. It's more like your favorite facial expression. It looks like this. It's emoji. Emoji officially is the word of the year. Face with tears of joy. Love that one. The Oxford folks say that the choice reflects that we live in a digital world now, and it means the same thing in every language. A few words that made the Oxford Dictionary this year: short list, fleek, Have you heard that? I know if my mom's watching, she doesn't know what that means. But to be on fleek means you look really good, your hair styled well, you're groomed. That's how you'd want to use it in a sentence. Or the dark web, defined by Oxford Dictionary as the part of the World Wide Web that is only accessible by means of special software, allowing users to operate anonymous or untraceable. And finally, they used to explain a person of an unspecified sex or gender. So, on fleek and emoji. Word of the year. What is your favorite? Like, if we looked at your phone right now, what is your most used emoji?
That tears of joy.
Is it really?
That is it, yeah. Because I use so many emojis when I type text to people, and I actually developed something last night, emotional. When you use too
really
many
emotional?
Yeah, too many emojis.
That.
I actually talked about it last
genius.
night.
You're so emotional. My favorite, the one that I use always the most, is the wink and the thumbs up. It goes back and forth, alternating positions on my phone. Because you know, if you look at your phone, the one at the top left is the one you use the most.
Yes. Figure that out.
And I have also talked to people before about saying, let's have conversations just in emojis and see how long we can do it.
It'll work.
Like coffee and then a smile and then see if they want to meet you for coffee, that sort of thing.
And then those Bitmojis, I don't know if you've seen those where they're actually a person, that look like you. I don't know if you've seen those.
I'm not that fancy, but I need to get one. You
those
have
are really
one?
cool. Yeah, they're really cool. Looks like me, has short hair.
Sassy. That, and if you drink as much coffee as us, we're going to live forever. So I feel really, I feel really good about my day. How about that? All right, and coming up next, Thanksgiving is almost here. So what is it that you and your family talk about as you are sitting around eating that gorgeous bird? Well, it turns out all Americans answered the same thing. What does your family talk about? Tweet us your answer and we'll tell you what the rest of us are talking about next.
Well, have you ever wondered what it would be like to work another job for a day? Well, the principals at the Sumter School District stepped aside today to allow everyday people to walk in their shoes. And News 19's Colby Gallagher was one of those dubbed Principal of the Day and has more on what this program is aimed to do.
Why do I have to learn this? It's a question students ask daily.
When you bring that into the classroom and show that you use those things when you work, it lets them know that what they're doing really does matter.
4 years ago, the Sumter School District joined in a national program to answer that question by bringing in citizens to act as principal for the day. 28 people took on the challenge this year, including me.
Welcome. We're glad to have you with us today. Ms. Gallagher, thank you for joining us at Kingsbury.
Proclaimed Queen Colby by the Knights at Kingsbury Elementary School, former Principal Philip Jackson and I got to work.
We want to be involved in our community, and we want our community to be involved with what we're doing. So it is really a great partnership that ultimately benefits our students.
From learning the turkey tango to finding out I am not smarter than a 5th grader,
I definitely clicked the wrong one.
I was able to see firsthand all that goes on in the school. Sumter County Superintendent Dr. Frank Baker says that also includes the struggles.
The things that might not actually be focused on instruction, but the social things we deal with, the issues that kids bring to school. Some kids are homeless, some kids are coming from abusive situations. So we have to incorporate all of those factors into the learning atmosphere.
Instructional coach Tammy Morris says the experience brings in feedback from outside the field, but it also brings those careers right to the students to show they are attainable if they stay in school.
I'm very impressed, by the way. I think you two have a future in news.
Colby Gallagher, News 19, WLTX.
Well, those filling in as principal included a senator and a representative. The district hopes they'll bring that feedback back to the chambers when the session begins in January so it can be used to better the education system in our state. Conducted a Thanksgiving survey on how Americans celebrate the upcoming holiday, and here are some stats. Nearly a quarter of Americans only eat turkey during Thanksgiving.
Okay, and we asked you, what is it that you talk about? The number one thing that you talk about at Thanksgiving dinner? The answer is family gossip.
Man.
All of you are going to be sitting around gossiping about Great Aunt Betty or somebody else that's always causing the drama in the family, followed by conversations about sports, politics, and movies.
Well, prayer is still included. Roughly 76% of Thanksgiving dinners this year will include a prayer. And outside of turkey, 43% of Americans favor stuffing.
Yes.
And then 18%, actually, excuse me, they favor stuffing, 18%. And sweet potato casserole, which I'm still confused about what that is, 7%. And then pie, also at 7% as well.
Mashed potatoes, 7%. Green bean casserole, 4%. You're wrong. Green bean casserole should be like 20%.
It's amazing.
Cranberry sauce is the loser. Only 3% of Americans prefer cranberry sauce. I disagree. I think if you douse everything in cranberry sauce, it tastes better, including dry turkey.
And we put the cranberry sauce way on the way end of the Thanksgiving
spread. I guess my family always has the dry turkey, so you need cranberry sauce.
About to say, yeah, turkey's really good, so I can't wait.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back. Jim, thank you. The polls are open until 7 o'clock tonight. Columbia voters voting in 2 different runoff elections. It's for 2 city council seats. The first is the at-large council member. The other is for District 2 council. We're going to have the winners for you tonight on News 19 at 11 and online at WLTX.com. And in Charleston, voters are picking a new mayor for the first time in 4 decades, if you can believe that. The election runoff is between businessman John Tecklenburg and State Representative Leon Stravankis. The candidates were the top 2 finishers 2 weeks ago in a 6-way nonpartisan race to succeed Joe Riley, who decided to retire after 10 terms in office. Riley served as mayor longer than anybody in Charleston's 345-year history.
Well, a company that does background checks for employees is expanding. General Information Services is investing almost $3 million in a facility in Columbia, and that investment will create 90 jobs. The company already employs 1,000 people at its headquarters in Lexington County. The company is leasing office space for the Columbia expansion, and new jobs will be created during the next 5 years.
There has been a change of command at the U.S. Army Central, which is based at Shaw Air Force Base. Lieutenant General Michael Garrett took over command at the ceremony this morning. He takes over from Lieutenant General James Terry, who is retiring after 37 years in the Army. Before this morning's ceremony, Garrett was promoted to 3-star general. He tells us that he and his family are excited to be part of the Sumter community.
I have a very good grasp of the current operations and activities in theater. Where I'll need to work in the coming days is gaining a better sense for what goes on in Army Central, because as you know, the Army component has really been the foundation of many of our efforts in the Middle East for the last 15 years.
U.S. Army Central supports and supplies American military forces in the Middle East and Central Asian regions. The South Carolina Charter School Conference is underway this week. It runs through tomorrow at the Marriott Hotel in downtown Columbia. The conference is bringing together more than 300 people from around our state to talk about charter schools. These are public schools that have more independence, but they're still accountable for the achievement of each of their students. Organizers say that charter schools are trending.
We're so happy to celebrate public charter schools in the state because they give families choice. What we hear from families more often than anything is that they want different options for their kids. You might have a family with 3 kids and one wants to be at a math and science school because that's what they're passionate about. One wants to be at a school where they're learning more about writing and communications. Maybe one, it makes sense for them to be at a public charter Montessori school.
The Charter School Alliance says that nearly 29,000 students are currently enrolled in the state's 69 public charter schools.
Well, Kershaw County now has a new state-of-the-art playground for all children, including those with disabilities. The project took a little less than a year to complete, but in the coming days it will be open and families can't wait to get out there and see all that it has to offer their children.
Maybe she can get out there and play, but the rest of the kids can.
Deborah Hobbs says her 8-year-old daughter Cassidy now has a safe place to play in Kershaw County.
Sometimes I feel like she can't play because there's no playground for her to play with. And then now this one's coming along. Maybe she can play with other kids, interact with them, be like her own self.
In the past, the Hobbs had to travel 45 minutes to Hartsville to access a playground that was accessible to Cassidy's needs. Cassidy has been in a wheelchair since she was a toddler after being diagnosed with encephalitis, an infection in the brain.
When I found out families were going to other neighborhoods just to have their children to be able to play, I took it upon as a personal mission.
Lori Carpenter decided to get the community involved in creating the new state-of-the-art playground equipped with rubber matting, which keeps children safe in case they fall.
We also have ramps where they'll be able to get to all play pieces. up on a level and be able to look down and also become a part of with other children.
Lugoff Fire Chief Dennis Ray says since May of this year, the community raised $300,000 to help build this handicap-accessible playground.
It is just absolutely wonderful to have that accessibility, have that type of fundraising, that type of support in the community to happen that fast. We're excited as the kids are to play on it.
Now, this playground is for all children, those with disabilities and those without, which allows people to kind of come together and learn a little bit more about people who have disabilities, and allows those children to also expand and meet a few other children as well. But it officially opens to the public next Wednesday, just in time for Thanksgiving. Well, the Fairfield County Community Food Bank received a generous donation today. The Ben Arnold Beverage Company presented the bank with a $5,000 check along with boxes of canned goods. And with the holiday season approaching, the need for assistance reaches an all-time high. The food bank supplies numerous families in Fairfield County with the resources needed to have an enjoyable holiday.
We are one of the largest employers here in Fairfield County. We know there's a lot of people in need. We have a good business and a strong business. We have a lot of blessings at Ben Arnold, and we just feel it's really important to share those blessings and to reach out to the community and show our support for all the people who are needing during this holiday season.
Well, donations can be made to the Fairfield Food Bank on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to 12.
4 young men in Oklahoma have a wild story to tell for years. Their car slid in the Oklahoma River, getting them stuck in a mud hole for hours. But their rescuer? None other than country music star Blake Shelton. The 39-year-old country singer just happened to be taking a trip in that area in between shows when he found the men stranded in this mud hole. First, the men say Blake tried to use his truck to pull them out, but when that didn't work, he said, "Hang on, guys, I'll be right back," and he got a tractor. He was able to get the kids out safely. They're calling him a hero on Twitter, but Blake Shelton's being very humble about it and saying, "Nah, I just probably saved them from a whooping from their parents."
Well, I know that's right.
Getting stuck. They got a little too close there to the Oklahoma River. And I mean, can you imagine looking up and there's Blake Shelton? In fact, where do I have to go to get myself stranded? And then look up and it's Blake Shelton rescuing me. I guess we got to go to Oklahoma.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I don't know.
He doesn't do it for you?
Yeah, nah.
No?
You know, Idris Elba, if he was standing up.
It would be different. Well, you got to figure out where he hangs out and get yourself stuck in a river there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right, coming up next, of course, math can be challenging for many students, but some students, these students say this teacher has cracked the code and now they get it. We're going to meet our teacher of the week next.